following subject matter is real and only intended for mature audiences. Discretion is advised.
People are dead after deputies say a man went on a shooting rampage.
I knew a week before she died I was going to kill her.
I can tell you the scene out there is absolutely horrific.
Nobody knows where this individual may strike next.
This is 10-Minute Murder.
Welcome to 10-Minute Murder, brief and bingeable true crime. My name is Joe, I'm the host, and thanks for joining today. This is the part 2 of the Menendez brothers episode. And before we pick up where we left off, if you are brand new to this podcast, make sure you subscribe before you go today. And even if you aren't brand new, if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to go ahead and do that. And also connect with 10-Minute Murder on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Links for that are in the show notes of this episode. Now, let's get to today's story. In the last episode, we talked about the gruesome murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez. The couple was shot to death in their fancy Beverly Hills home in August 1989. Their two sons, Erik and Lyle, were left shocked, and I'm using air quotes on shocked, by the sudden loss of their parents. But police had a feeling that the brothers knew more about the murders than they initially indicated. After the discovery of the bodies, Erik and Lyle were taken to the police station to be questioned. The police didn't consider them suspects at this point. They just wanted to talk to the brothers and see if they had any helpful information. However, one of the patrol officers assigned to watch Erik and Lyle immediately after their parents were found dead thought they seemed a bit off. Even though it's completely understandable that you feel devastated in a situation like this, according to the officer, the Menendez brothers' hysteria felt at times a bit overboard. In addition, he noticed that when looking directly at Erik and Lyle, they were sobbing, but when he turned away, they were calm and were whispering to each other. Of course, that could have meant nothing because everybody reacts differently to traumatic events, but you couldn't deny it was a bit strange. At the station, the brothers provided the police with a timeline of how they spent August 20th, 1989. According to them, they'd been playing tennis that morning, going shopping later in the afternoon at the Beverly Center, then around 5 p.m., they made plans with a friend to meet up later at the Taste of LA festival. A few hours later, they had gone to the AMC theater to see the new James Bond movie, but decided to see Batman instead due to a long line. After the movie was over, Erik and Lyle were supposed to meet their friend Perry Berman, but according to them, they got lost along the way and missed him. They then called Perry from a payphone and agreed to meet at the Cheesecake Factory in Beverly Hills. Before going, they needed to pick up Erik's fake ID from home to buy alcoholic drinks. However, things took an unexpected, horrible turn as Erik told the authorities, quote, "We were going to stop at home quickly, so we pulled up front, we pulled in the driveway, we pulled in the side, and the gate was open, and we went inside, and I was smelling smoke. After that, we saw them, and immediately I started screaming, and so I went upstairs, and Lyle called the police immediately." Next, the brothers were asked the obvious question of if they had any idea of who could have killed their parents and why. According to Lyle, his father might have had business problems with some people, but he didn't know anything more. Lyle also mentioned his mother, saying, quote, "She seemed really worried about things. In fact, she recently bought a rifle." He continued, "Only my brother and I know this, but she was on the verge of contemplating suicide." So according to his statement, she was thinking about committing suicide. In the end, authorities were left with more questions than answers after the questioning of the Menendez brothers, and there's still no person of interest. One thing was for sure, Kitty or Jose was not the one behind the shooting. The scene and injuries had definitely not looked like a murder-suicide, mostly because dead people don't pick up shell casings and hide murder weapons. Curiously, the police did not administer gunshot residue tests on Erik and Lyle at all. While they were not suspected of killing their parents, one would think it would be smart to do anyway. Anything's possible and maybe just even rule them out, but I guess not. Lyle and Erik arranged a memorial service for their parents on August 25th, 1989 at the Directors Guild of America in Los Angeles. Yet the brothers themselves were an hour late. During the ceremony, Erik was visibly uncomfortable while Lyle seemed calm and relaxed. When the formalities had been taken care of, the Menendez brothers began acting as if they had just won the lottery. Erik and Lyle's father had been worth $14 million at the time of his death, and it seemed the brothers now planned to see how fast it would take them to spend all that money. Lyle bought a Rolex, a Porsche, lots of clothing, and a whole restaurant in Princeton, New Jersey. Erik bought a Jeep Wrangler and hired a $50,000 personal tennis coach in hopes of turning pro, and invested $40,000 in a rock concert that never happened. On top of that, the brothers bought luxury condominiums for themselves in Marina del Rey. Within 6 months of the death of their parents, the brothers had spent an estimated $700,000. Meanwhile, authorities continued to search for leads without any success. That was until March 5th, 1990, when detectives finally received a break in the case. A woman named Judalon Smith, an ex-lover of Dr. Jerome Oziel, told them that she had been asked to eavesdrop on a therapy session by Dr. Oziel on October 31st, 1989. And who was present at that session? Erik and Lyle Menendez. Judalon stated that she had heard the brothers shouting to each other, something along the lines of, quote, "I can't believe you told him. We've got to kill him and anyone associated with him." Followed with, "I can't stop you from what you have to do, but I can't kill anyone." The session ended when Erik stormed out of the office crying. Lyle soon followed him. Judalon continued, saying that the argument was caused by the fact that Erik had confessed to Dr. Oziel he had been the one killing his parents together with his brother. They even had everything on tape, the confessions to the murder and explanations for why the brothers had committed the crimes. It was a jackpot. Lyle was arrested soon after the revelation. Erik, who had been in Israel at the time, flew to Miami and then to LA, where he turned himself into police. Still, taking the brothers to trial was not as easy as you would think. Because the confession tapes initially fell under doctor-patient privilege, it took 2 full years to decide if they could be used in court. At first, in August 1990, Judge James Albrecht ruled that the tapes of the conversations between Erik and Dr. Oziel were admissible evidence. He based this decision on the fact that Lyle had allegedly threatened Dr. Oziel and thus violated doctor-patient privilege. However, due to appeals, it was not until December 1992 when the Menendez brothers were finally charged with the murders of their parents. The trial began in 1993, and even though this was before Al Gore invented the internet, it was hard to go anywhere or do anything without seeing some type of coverage on the Menendez brothers. Courtroom events were broadcast on a cable network called Court TV, which basically wanted to turn murder trials and other legal proceedings into entertainment, as they are today. Of course, nobody could deny that there were all the ingredients for a successful TV crime series. 2 handsome young men from a rich family orphaned by gruesome crime in a colossal mansion, huge inheritance, and a plot twist. Everybody was watching and waiting for the fate of the 2 brothers. The Menendez brothers' trial was held at the Los Angeles County Superior Court, located in the San Fernando Valley Government Center in Van Nuys. As Erik and Lyle could not really deny anymore that they had been the ones to kill Jose and Kitty, they tried to make it sound like they had every right in the world to shoot their parents. The brothers testified in court that they had gone through a lifetime of abuse by their parents, especially their father, who had also sexually exploited them. According to Erik and Lyle, Jose was a cruel perfectionist and a pedophile, while Kitty was a mentally unstable alcoholic and drug addict who just encouraged the abuse. The whole defense relied on an imperfect self-defense law which argued that the brothers had an honest but unreasonable belief that their lives were in danger. Meanwhile, the prosecution questioned the sexual abuse claims and painted a picture of greedy monsters who had killed their parents in a very savage way just to inherit their father's millions. Still, the story of abusive parents was enough to get the brothers a hung jury in their first trial. However, it was immediately announced they would be retried. In the second trial, where TV cameras were not allowed, jurors rejected the abuse defense and convicted the brothers of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. And so, almost 7 years after the murders, Erik and Lyle Menendez were sentenced to life without parole. They were initially sent to separate prisons until 2018, when they were allowed to serve their sentences at the same facility in San Diego County. Both Lyle and Erik found wives while imprisoned and have remained married. Today, it has been over 3 decades since the murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez. The brothers have stuck to their original statement all this time, saying a lifetime of abuse finally caused them to snap. They just wished they'd gotten help sooner. As Lyle noted in 2018, quote, "If I could take my consciousness now and go back, I would have gone to the police and taken my chances in exposing what was happening." Erik also expressed bitterness of the situation, saying, quote, "I didn't deserve the sentence. I'm not saying what I did was right or justifiable, but place another child in my life and see what happens. The way I reacted was so destructive to all. It was the most awful devastation. I killed the two people I loved the most." Earlier this year, the case was brought back into the spotlight as a group of Gen Z TikTokers flooded the social media platform with videos saying they believe the Menendez brothers' punishment was way too harsh due to abuse allegations. Yet others see Erik and Lyle as just rich, white Beverly Hills boys who murdered their parents and still were not stripped of their privilege. And honestly, no matter what side you're on, one thing is for sure. The Menendez brothers are not going to get out of prison anytime soon. And hopefully their story will encourage those in the future, maybe in a similar situation, to reach out for help instead of turning to murder. Whoa. That's today's 10-minute murder. Brief and bingeable true crime. Thanks for listening today as we wrap up part 2 of 2 of the Menendez brothers. And to me, the most interesting detail of this case, I didn't even mention until right now. It didn't keep the story moving forward, so I didn't see the point of mentioning before now. But there's a basketball card of Mark Jackson of the New York Knicks. In the background of his basketball card, you can see sitting courtside Erik and Lyle Menendez. The picture for this basketball card was taken after their parents were murdered and they were on that spending spree. So of course they're sitting courtside at the Knicks game. And I don't know who in the world discovered that you can see Erik and Lyle in the background of this basketball card. I'll post it to the 10-Minute Murder Facebook and Instagram pages so you can see it for yourself. It's super weird and cool at the same time. I don't know, it's just an interesting detail to this story. Again, thanks for listening today. And if you're listening to this at the time it is released, I hope you and your family have a happy Thanksgiving. And if you're listening to it after that time, I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. If you have friends that are into brief true crime stories, maybe like this one, let them know about 10-Minute Murder. Also, make sure you're subscribed to 10-Minute Murder and you won't miss any future episodes. Connect on Facebook and Instagram, also Twitter. Links are in the show notes of this episode, or just type 10-Minute Murder, the number 10-Minute Murder, into the search bar of Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and the show will pop right up. Thank you for listening. Be safe and have a good night.